Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for the Meanwhile Tradition panel. But today we don't stick to the title itself that much. We slightly differ it, but I'm sure we can also present you some very interesting panelists up here. And my name is Maria Pütz-Willems. I'm the editor-in-chief of Hospitality Insight. I have the pleasure to organize this hotel conference since 9 years. And it's still great fun because never things stop. And you always get to know good people, interesting people. And two of them are here today. And I may just shortly introduce Bernhard Bohnenberger, president of Six Senses, hotels, resorts, spas. Very welcome, warm welcome to you, Bernhard, today. And next to him is Ross Harding. Yes, a very special person. And I make it more exciting. You will get to hear more about him later. Yeah? Bernhard, you are a classical hotelier. You started as a Lausanne Hotel School graduate, right? But you're a German native. And you joined Six Senses in 1991 as a development director. You were appointed managing director in 1996, so classical career, and then appointed president in 2011, right? And you speak 5 languages or more meanwhile?
A couple more, maybe.
Tell us which ones. Which ones?
A few European, and I've had the luck to live in Hong Kong and in Thailand, so I managed to learn those as well.
Wow. And but prior to joining Six Senses, now you nearly spent half of your life with the company, but prior you, of course, were working for Hilton in Geneva and Hong Kong, right? For the Marco Polo Group in Hong Kong and for the Hotel 4 Jahreszeiten in Munich, a Kempinski Hotel, the Beau Lac in Zurich and Peninsula in Hong Kong, so quite a colorful and impressive number of hotel names. And I would like to mention personally, because it's a very special and great honor for you as an expert. From 2009 up to 2011, Bernhard was appointed the honorary advisor to the president of the Senate of Thailand. And this is a real honor, and I think we can be proud to have you with us here.
Thank you, Maria.
Six Senses was founded in 1995, but the company today is different from the one we saw in the beginning. And meanwhile, but still very quickly, the company was recognized as the leader in the luxury sustainable segment. And there are only 2 hotel pioneers in the resort segment, I would say today. The one is Adrian Secker, and the next one is Six Senses in my eyes. And everybody appreciates your approach to the hotel industry, and but the company develops. The company was split some years ago, 2 years ago, and was acquired by an American investment company called Pegasus Capital Advisors. And today, correct me please, Bernhard, you operate 7 Six Senses resorts and spas, 3 Iverson resorts and spas, another brand, and 19 Six Senses spas. And among them, there's the legendary Christina Onassis yacht as well. Under development, you have 10 resorts and hotels and 1 spa, right? And your new focus, just to give you keywords, they concentrate now on urban resorts in the near future. But I stop talking now, and you will continue talking afterwards. We will watch some very nice images about Six Senses. This answers most of your questions about the company. Maybe watch the video, please, of Six Senses. Okay, there's the video as well, screen.
Well,
I think these are very impressive images,
yeah.
but let's get into detail a bit later.
Maria, thank you very much for the introduction, and I really count myself very fortunate to be here today, and very fortunate to have been with what's today Six Senses for over 20 years. It's wonderful to look back because the vision has always been the same, and that's to bring a destination very close to our visitors. You know, we all travel, and luxury 20 years ago when we started used to be very often a city interpretation, put on a wonderful beach, and I think destroying the beach or destroying the island or the mountain. And for us, it is really bringing the destination as close as possible to our guests. And that means interaction with the local community. It means organic gardens, growing as much as possible of our own food, sourcing locally, and experiences that really give you the destination. For me, that's much more luxurious nowadays in a connected world where we are all on social media, overcrowded cities, traffic jams, pollution. True luxury is actually just nature. If we didn't have to build anything and just bring you there and make it all happen, it would be even better. But we need to build something to shelter you and be a frame. So that has been the philosophy, and hence a huge passion for sustainability right from day one. Because what does sustainability mean? It means to maintain it and be able to go on for the future. So if you destroy the destination where you go, it's not sustainable.
Let's get into detail later. Let's introduce Ross now first. Ross, you are Australian but live in Berlin most of the time when you don't travel. You studied sustainable engineering in Sweden. And already in young age, you're still very young, but in younger years even, you worked with great architects like Norman Foster, Jean Nouvel. You also worked in London. You went back to Melbourne to study for the Queen MBA, you told me. And then you decided to quit the job. And in Mexico, you met Klaus Sendlinger, the CEO of Design Hotels, and from there, a new life now started. And your company, Finding Infinity, is more or less a result of it, and it's no real company. For me, it's more a lifestyle approach. And to understand this a little bit better, and you can explain it afterwards by yourself, please, let's also watch the video first of Finding Infinity. Please, Ross, videos.
It's not about carbon. It's not about climate change. Carbon is only one of many outputs, and climate change is only one of many results from basing the world on finite resources. It's about flipping the world around from being based on finite resources to being based on resources that will never run out. It all started in Australia when we converted an old car to run on vegetable oil, visited some renewable power plants, and started communicating the solutions. We threw some solar-powered parties in London. They say music sounds better when it comes from the sun. A 19-day cargo ship voyage brought us all the way to Mexico. We found a motorbike and a truck that ran on vegetable oil and road tripped around Mexico to support the world's biggest energy efficiency campaign. We ended up in Tulum throwing more solar parties, which is where we met Klaus, the CEO of Design Hotels. Klaus asked us to come to Berlin to see if we could do something together. So now we're in Europe, meeting up with amazing people, communicating solutions, and reducing the impact of hotels as we go. Basically, we are doing every single thing we can to get people as excited about the solutions as we are. This world is an incredible place. People should be able to experience it forever. So our children can, and their children can too. We think of this as a revolution. We didn't start it, but we certainly want to speed it up. our journey.
Thank you. Ross, give us your own idea in a few sentences. What is Finding Infinity about?
Sure. So how do I put it? Okay, basically the way that I guess a lot of you have noticed is that the world is currently changing from being based on finite resources and being flipped around to being based on infinite resources. Finding Infinity is it's an organization, it's a movement, it's a lifestyle, it's a lot of things, but it's dedicated and specifically to speed that transition up. Recently, one of my biggest projects that I'm working on at the moment is with design hotels, and that's why I'm here. I'm not from the tourism industry. As Maria said before, I'm an engineer, so basically we're connecting this sort of concept of resources and sustainability with tourism. And yeah, we're basically trying to use the power of design hotels and inspire and influence through what we're doing.
So your job is more an entertaining one, huh? If you look at the photos, dancing in front of solar panels, touring around with a motorbike, running on vegetable fuel, or traveling, so it sounds really nice.
We try to use creativity and fun in everything we're doing. So I guess it's such a dull, boring topic, sustainability, really, isn't it? And we just try and make it a bit oddball and sideways and try and get people more engaged in it in some ways.
Okay, so it's more the entertaining part, so more than the educative part, or how high would you?
Good question. I guess we are trying to connect education with entertainment, and by somehow, really, a lot of the origins of where all of this came from was that the technical solutions and the financial solutions are out there. And really what the barrier is people's understanding of those solutions, and people, for them to understand it, they need to engage in these topics. So our approach is that we try and engage people through communications, as well as consulting, basically.
Yeah, so it's more a coaching in terms of sustainability, lifestyle coaching.
I guess it's less about telling people what to do and more about just showing people the solutions and the opportunities that are out there currently available.
Okay. I also had a very entertaining experiences many years ago when I, as a journalist, visited Six Senses for the first time. And that time you have been a very young company. And I went to the Maldives, and you have to go to the islands there by a seaplane. And getting off the seaplane, they take you to a boat, and which brings you to the hotel. And the first you get in this boat is a shoe bag with this slogan on: no news, no shoes. And this has become something like a benchmark, a logo for you, a slogan throughout many years. And I still have this bag, as you can see, and it's one of my precious memories. And but it's very symbolic for what you do and what you did and what Six Senses initiated throughout the years. The staff, of course, in the boat, they kindly ask you to take off your shoes right away as soon as you enter the boat, and you see your shoes again the day you leave. Yeah, they are gone in this bag to your room, of course, but they are gone and they hide it. Yeah? So it was very nice entry to a memorable holiday, or that time business trip, and later I came back on holiday. And as I said, it's a great idea. On the other side, I have to say, looking at your website, knowing your hotel rates starting at $500, $600, going up easily to $1,000 per night, wherever you are. And why, honestly, Bernhard, tell us, why should I pay that much for taking off my shoes and walking barefoot in the sand?
I would say at that time it was a matter of redefining luxury. And if you think of the word luxury, for many it's still conjures up chandeliers and gold leaf and marble. But really what is luxury? It's something rare that is hard for you to get, and hence you will pay a lot for it. And why would you fly to the Maldives to get chandeliers and marble? What is more luxurious or what is more rare and special than having your feet in beautiful powder sand and not having your shoes on that you are confined to? We're all having shoes on most probably today. We're not being confined to your limitations of daily life. And hence guests are ready to pay for such experiences. Now, it's not everywhere that it's barefoot luxury within Six Senses. It's where it's right. In Maldives, with wonderful, beautiful powder sand, it makes sense. If you go to Six Senses Sigi Bay in Oman, where there's a lot of rock and stone, it's a different story. It's other things that we bring out. But it's really what's rare and what's special that people are happy to pay for, and it's memorable experiences.
All your properties are 5-star, of course, very exclusive luxury properties. And what I like is really everybody there, all guests, wherever they come from, how wealthy they are. I never saw such a crowd of guests that really tries avoiding to dress up for dinner. They are all in beach clothing. They walk around. Everybody is just himself, herself, everybody is there. You meet different person. I know you have many celebrities staying with you, but you wouldn't recognize them. So
well, that's
what's
again,
the secret?
Comes to the same thing. It is creating a real special experience. And for those who are living in the typical trimmings of luxury on a daily basis, what is more beautiful than let your hair down and be in a t-shirt and shorts and barefoot and get away from it all? And hence, celebrities feel safe with us because we don't speak about their names, we never publish who comes. And the way everybody is dressed and relaxed, most probably they are not recognized, and they appreciate that. So we flipped luxury around pretty much, and that's been appreciated.
Ross, is this a sustainable concept?
I think it totally is, actually. I mean, particularly what we've been talking about with the different initiatives that you guys are doing at your hotels is amazing. And I think, I mean, one thing that we were talking about before was traveling to the destinations and things like this. And I think the greatest thing that you guys are doing is making a minimal impact on the environment through the operation of your organization and benefiting the local community at the same time. And it's really admirable what you guys are doing, so yeah, well done.
Thank you very much. No, what you are doing with Design Hotels, I hear it is going in the very same direction, so that's fantastic.
Cheers. And so yeah, but I think for me personally, sustainability is really about flipping around your needs versus your wants, you know what I mean? And I think that it's very raw and simple what you guys are offering in that sense. And for me, that's true luxury. Like you said, nature is true luxury. It's amazing.
But some critical people, of course, they always say, okay, you offer such great properties mainly on islands or in very lonely corners of the world, somewhere in hidden places. But you always have to fly to the destination. So how do you deal with compensation, Bernhard? Because I think I'm not the first one to ask this question here.
I do believe you have to weigh benefits. We are not, I'm not saying it as a defense, but we are a resort and hotel and spa operator. Our business is tourism, and I do believe tourism is one of the best ways to help communities in job creation and creating business for a country or for a region. So if you weigh those benefits, I believe we are having a positive impact, but we are trying to offset it as much as we can in being as responsible as we can with what we do in development, design, operations.
Yeah, let's go into detail. So how can you make a luxury property sustainable to both of you? Maybe you start, Bernhard?
Well, yeah, actually, just to add something on to what you were saying there, if that's okay, it's just that I think too many people are focused on cutting people down about problems like flying to destinations and things like that, and there's not enough emphasis on celebrating solutions. And I think that it's, yeah, I imagine that's how it is for you guys, is that, yeah, people will find the one or two things that you're doing wrong to cut you down on, instead of searching for all the things that you guys are doing great and celebrating it. And it's a bit frustrating, not just in tourism, but in sustainability and business in general.
Yeah, it's gone so far that we've actually published very little of what we do, because whenever you publish it, people get out these magnifying glasses and look for faults instead of celebrating what people are doing well. And it's actually our wish that many in the industry follow some of the better things we have done.
But depending on the location, I think it's also very challenging, yeah, as you come into maybe a less developed region like in Europe, where you have different restrictions or different knowledge, also in government as well as in the population. So that's a general challenge, I think, wherever you go to in tour as well.
Yeah, well, it's really looking at the best you can do in a certain time and a certain location. And to be sustainable, it also has to commercially work. The concept of just being green for green's sake is not sustainable if not commercially you can demonstrate a return on investment. We are a management company, and the owners of our properties, we need to justify to them why we do certain things. We don't see sustainability as a marketing angle. Purposely, we are not doing that. It's become very fashionable. We were very strong on a lot of aspects 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when it wasn't fashionable yet. I remember being ridiculed. I remember that certain management contracts we wouldn't sign because the owner would not buy into some of it, because it wasn't as easily implementable yet as it is today. I think technology is evolving, and happily it's turning around. There's much better return on investment on a lot of initiatives now. And
in which regions do you think is it still very challenging to get a sustainable feedback or sustainable support from the government, from the official authorities?
Well, yeah, I've worked on projects all over the world actually, and I feel that if it's the public sector, the private sector, and then there's people. And if you've got all three of them that have the right mindset, like Germany, for example, the government is behind these initiatives. There's plenty of organizations that are providing solutions, and the people get it. It happens really quickly here. Lots of other countries in the world, I mean, yeah, in where I'm from, Australia, for example, the government is completely backwards at the moment, and it's not going anywhere. Whereas in, say, I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and people don't quite get it still. And so the best way to influence the government's actually trying to do quite a lot, but for the best way to influence the government is people who understand it, and then private organizations will provide more.
What's your impression, Bernhard?
Most of our destinations are still very remote, and it's smaller communities, so you can actually influence them by speaking about it, doing education in schools, bringing children and the local community into the resort and showcasing things that we do. So it's easier than going into cities. We are now looking at bringing Six Senses in a very sustainable way into cities, and that will be maybe easier. There will be, if it is European cities, I guess there will be.
So how do you proceed, Bernhard, when you get an idea, or you have chosen a country you want to go to, a destination, then how do you convince? Do you need first to convince the owner, or do you only already select the owners? Do they come to you? So how does it work? How do you get these remote locations, and where does the support come from? In
most cases, it is developers or landowners that are looking for us because they find we are the right match for the destination. It's even countries. For example, the country of Ecuador has approached us and said they felt we were the right partner for tourism, so we're exploring to do various developments there. So typically somebody seeks us. So there's already an openness of mind to our approach. It's then part of the management agreement. There is a big section on sustainability and on certain policies that the owner has to buy into. We can demonstrate though why we do them and that they have a commercial return. And the one that is sometimes difficult is that 0.5% of revenues in every property has to be dedicated to local causes. sustainability, social or environmental. And that sometimes for some owners is a difficult thing to swallow. They say, why should I give 0.5% away? Let's just decide on a one-by-one basis what we'll do every year. But then we wouldn't sign. We strictly insist on that.
Okay, that's very unique.
And then it comes into design. We have a vice president of sustainability. She's a trained architect. And with the technical services team is then really looking at building materials, building methods. And the operations team comes in and looks at really shaping every single aspect of a project to be sustainable.
Give us some examples, please, on the property. So how can you make a luxury property sustainable? What can you do in terms of water, energy? Please also step in, Ross, in terms of water, energy, waste reduction. We just mentioned the influence on this interior design, but where are natural limits? Because you have your ideas, your philosophy. Where do you see natural limits? What can you do? What can you realize? What is realistic to do?
From a design point of view, it's and on a cost-benefit basis, there are very little limitations if you are prepared to, in the same way that I believe you are with your guests, to inspire your guests to behave in a different way, in a sense, not necessarily to reduce their experience, but to understand and think about things more. Yeah. There's so many initiatives that are either cost neutral in a design process or have very short-term payback periods of 5 years or less. So you can make a huge impact in terms of a wide variety of initiatives in terms of energy, water, waste, building materials, all kinds of things. But very often in the design process, sustainability is not put at the core of the project, and it's quite often this add-on, this nice-to-have component in the corner. And then people throw that out as soon as the project develops, and they put it at the side. Whereas if you really put it at the core and make it at the heart of the concept, you can't throw it away, and then it can actually provide you with financial benefits in the future.
What precisely can you do? Just give us some examples from some resorts.
Looking at sourcing materials as close to the property as possible, bringing in local craftsmen and builders to play the biggest part, if possible. You know, not bring one huge contractor who just raises everything and builds it. That's how resorts used to be done very often. But it is working around the trees without cutting them down, working with local building materials, local ways of doing things, and then looking at all the engineering aspects and making them as sustainable as possible, water, energy.
So you have your own water meanwhile? Your bottled water?
Yeah, that's an operational issue. We abandoned any import of mineral water about 6-7 years ago. I remember the naysayers who said, your guests paying $1,000, they will need their P's and E's. I'm not saying the brands of water. But nobody has complained about them. We have bottling plants, and we showcase them actually in the resorts where we filter the water, we mineralize it, we have still and sparkling water. We have them in recyclable bottles that we then sterilize and wash and serve to the guests, and they're very happy with it. That's one big initiative that I think was a success. It's quite a few groups have followed the same now, and it's great. It's something we would like to encourage. Another one is vegetable gardens and fruit orchards in all of our resorts, as much as we can. Six Senses Ziggy Bay, we couldn't really, it's a sand dune on the sea, so we couldn't grow as much as we wanted, so we found now a farm. The owner has bought a farm about half an hour away in Dibba, which is very large, and where we most probably can produce more than the resort needs. So, and it's then always pushing the envelope every single time and taking it further. It's not just building the resort and then staying steady, but it's trying to find new initiatives every single year and challenging that.
Most of your villas have private pools. very big ones, smaller ones. So is this a contradiction to sustainability?
But as much as we can, we use ecological filtration and systems to treat the water. Very often it's seawater. But again, we are a hospitality company trying to do as much as we can on a sustainability front. We are not a sustainability company running hotels. So I think one has to be fair, and certain luxuries are expected. Otherwise, we would not be able to fill these resorts, and they wouldn't be sustainable. So there's compromises what one has to do.
And what about your guests? How do you manage, or was it addressed to you, Ross? How can you address to guests and to involve them in sustainability thoughts? What about, you mentioned the local craftsmen already, but what else can you do to, first, let's talk first about guests and about the locals. What can you do to make them happy guests, yeah, and to make them forget 1,000 euros per night and taking off the shoes? So where is their benefit of it? What can just give us some ideas, precise ideas? What could you do?
You know, one of the most frequent positive guest comments is on the local food. They rave about having seen the salad being cut in front of them and served 10 minutes later to them. They rave about a local lady from the village coming and actually doing a cooking class on some typical dishes.
Local, yeah.
And nobody raves about the wine that has been flown in, or the smoked salmon or whatever. Nobody talks about that, because you can have it at every street corner everywhere in the world. They rave about the true luxuries of getting something very local and very typical.
But you do have wine cellars.
We do, absolutely. We have long average lengths of stay. So it's always this balance of the luxuries you offer versus how much you can push the boundary. We don't preach to guests. We don't tell them what they absolutely have to do. But we offer it to them, and we make it attractive. And we see more and more guests gravitate towards that.
And I think there's, I mean, in a sense, sometimes local sourcing food can be more expensive, but you can provide your guests with a better experience. But I also think that, which is great, I think that a lot of the great initiatives that you can do that can make a really big impact, the guest doesn't even need to know about. Okay, and I think there are a lot of the boring technical side of things that the engineers are dealing with back of house. But I think to have a truly sustainable hotel is something that a guest can go to and not even really, they shouldn't need to notice. You know, I think that too often people are talking to me about putting the towels on the floor scenario and things like that, and everyone seems to have issues with that in a sense. I'm not sure what your policy is actually, but I think it's a great thing in a sense that, you know, you're reducing, but I think as soon as a guest feels that they are being told that they have to adjust, they're put off by the idea. Whereas I think a lot of the initiatives you guys are doing is, but back of house, no one needs to know about it.
That's right. And it's encouragement rather than preaching. We turned it around to, let's say, with the beds, we now encourage you to put something on the bed if you want the bed changed. If you don't put it, we don't change it. So that's pushing the boundaries a little bit. But and on many fronts, that's what we do. But it should not be preaching. It should be encouraging.
How did you convince some hoteliers on your tours around Europe or Mexico?
Actually, it's not so much convincing, but more we actively go around and find what's happening. So design hotels is really at more of an infant stage in the process. So you're quite advanced in where you're at. Design hotels has really kicked off this initiative, and with a preferred partner of EarthCheck for certification. And the idea is that the hotels are really just starting their journey. But the amazing thing that we found was that everywhere we went, whether it was at the hotel or in the neighborhood, there was always amazing solutions that were happening. So from in Larx in Switzerland, the hotel is completely heated with biomass. They have a great local resource of wood there. It's cheap for them to get local wood. So it makes sense for them to do that. The hotel is powered by hydroelectricity. to Loisium in Austria. 80% of their products, they're locally sourced. So there were a wide variety of different initiatives. In Lake Como at Sea Hotel, they're using solar hot water and photovoltaics, which also was a government initiative. There was support for that at the time, and there were different things. So there's been a wide variety of various things that are back of house and front of house, but it's been without even a lot of them engaging and knowing that they want to be sustainable. They're doing a lot of these initiatives just because they want to.
Are they always aware of their resources, also of their opportunities, of solutions they have right in front of the door? Are they aware of it everywhere around the world?
Well, I mean, I think if you just look at it as being smart, do you know what I mean? I mean, if, for example, something like solar hot water, okay, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. I mean, 2 years of your energy bill for gas, you pay it off if you just install a solar hot water system. So, I mean, one way of looking at it is being aware of the environment and resources. The other way of looking at it is just being smart with your finances. And to be honest, if people, I think it's great when people are passionate about the environment, but I think if more people looked at environmental initiatives for financial benefits, it would speed the process up a lot faster.
Okay, let's talk about the locals. How can you integrate locals? And let's continue with you, Ross. What do you do in destinations, traveling? How can you convince locals to join the hotels and support them, and vice versa? How can you convince hoteliers to integrate locals?
Well, the great case study that Design Hotels has is it's the Rock House in Jamaica, actually. Mm-hmm. And they've formed a foundation. The organization's based in New York, but the hotel's based in Jamaica. And they do a fundraiser each year and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they invest all of that money in helping rebuild local schools. It helps connect them with the local community. It is improving the education system around them, which in turn is helping their hotel in the future. And it's, I agree with you that it's bad to use it as marketing if that is the intention, but actually it works out well for them, is that people are drawn to that, as their heart draws to that hotel because they're doing something great. And I think that's a powerful thing when you use a business not just to make money, but to do good things at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. You, Bernhard, I know you like to dig very deep into local heritage, yeah? And you go for local recipes, ingredients, whatever you do in terms of building, construction, in terms of cooking. Just give us some ideas. What do you do?
It's a contrast to those. There's still many hotels, resorts that build a big wall around themselves, import the labor from elsewhere, and ignore the local community. And that's actually not what guests seek and want. We try to really bring pride back into some destinations, pride in the local heritage and the local culture, and integrate it with the guests. We have some amazing butlers or guest experience persons that go with the guests from the local community. They can really show off where they grew up. They can bring them around and tell them about what's happening. That's the most treasured experiences for guests. So it's really just integrating as much as you can without being Disneylandish. You know, because I've seen destinations where it's been driven the other way, where it becomes a zoo, and it should be enhancing the pride and giving the community real opportunities to be part of the economy.
In the Maldives, most of the islands next to the resort islands are local islands, yeah, where locals stay, live. And do you support them next door by building schools for them?
There's quite
like
some employment, and then there's this 0.5% of revenues that is spent every year in every property on local causes, where together with the owner of the property and the local community, we see what's most needed. Ideally, initiatives that are, again, self-sustaining. It's not just giving a grant, but it's doing something that helps the livelihoods and the wellness of the community.
And I think, I mean, from my personal experience, it's not that easy to do these community projects with locals. And I think I personally have tried to get some of these projects started myself. And it's hard work, you know what I mean? And I mean, I imagine you've had lots of success, but has there been lots of wasted efforts and trying to get things started up and it not working out as well?
There has been frustrations when you're so enthusiastic about involving everyone, and sometimes there is no will to do that. But over time, if you demonstrate that you really want to do good and it's not just an initiative for marketing's sake, then you can be successful with it.
Bernhard, do you still have, or do you have guests meanwhile that refuse to maybe check in with you because you also offer Wi-Fi, because you are not that consequent in sustainability concepts?
No, we do in all the guest rooms. We have an option for guests to switch it off. So there's areas where you can be completely free of that. But it stresses guests more if they cannot be connected sometimes. You know.
Does it? So it's better to give them an access at least for 10 minutes. Right. Great. Do you see this is a contradiction, Ross? The technological demand today to pair it, to combine it with a sustainable philosophy?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think there's a balance. You know, I think that to have a resort in a remote location, to try and for people to take too much technology and need to use hairdryers and things like that consumes a lot of energy. And it's funny as it is, a hairdryer might seem something small, but to power that on a small solar system, for example, it's very expensive to be able to achieve that. But on the other side of things, the improvement in technology is enabling us to be able to do these things so people don't even notice. And yeah, I mean, one person we met along the way that I found had a very interesting point of view on technology was a fabric producer in Milan. And she was working with very high-tech machinery to develop beautiful fabrics from all kinds of natural and organic and recycled materials. And it was, I think quite often you can be smart with how you use technology so people are getting a better product and not even knowing that it's sustainable, basically.
Okay. If you don't mind, I would like to open the forum to some questions in here. I guess there are some. And then I would like to give you really time to answer. So there's a lady up here, please, Natasha. Please tell us your name first.
Hi, my name is Peyton. I am American, but I actually live in Australia now. And I am studying international sustainable tourism development, getting a master's. And I've been looking around and going to all of these hotels and trying to find a place where I can offer my services, whether as an internship or a job in sustainable development, sustainability, corporate responsibility. And most of the hotels I find either don't know who's doing it, have pushed it off onto the human resources person who may be very, very active in it, but might not be. And there seems to be no sort of educational ladder for those of us who are interested in corporate responsibility in the hotel and accommodation sector. And what are you hearing inside of the industry? How do we get this moving forward so we can make sure every place is doing what you guys are doing?
Well, first of all, I'd love to talk to you afterwards. We do have a structure. We have a Vice President Sustainability on the executive committee of the company. She leads a team of part-time champions in every resort and every spa we manage. They have monthly calls, they have a lot of initiatives, and they're sharing best practices throughout the group. We also have a sustainability ambassador. He may even be in the room, Costas Christ, who is a very reputed ecotourism and sustainability expert and writes for the National Geographic Traveler. And he advises us and helps us. And from our parent company, Pegasus, who only invested in Six Senses because they only invest in sustainable companies, we have a fantastic board. Even one who advised the state of California in all their sustainability over the last decades. So we have fantastic support there, and we are looking. Our VP Sustainability is today and yesterday in Switzerland looking at hotel schools, meeting potential graduates to join us, because we really want to keep the momentum going. I am aware that several other hotel companies are putting sustainability responsibility into their management, dedicated. So I think there's a trend there, and there should be a future, I believe. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions, please? There's one, please.
Hola. My name is Paula Rodriguez. I come from Chile, from Explora. We really like you, we follow you. And I'm a marketing manager for Explora. I do have someone in charge of sustainability too in Chile, so you are more than welcome.
You're in demand.
You're in demand, exactly. And my question is, how do you relate the marketing people with the sustainability people, not to make it, because always marketing is wanting to generate content and storytelling, blah, blah, blah. And sustainability is more insiders. They are in the technical part that is not sexy telling. And marketing is always like wanting to have content to tell to your travelers. And it's a complicated relationship, I think.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your concept. It's fabulous. And Explorer, I think, is fantastic what you do. Yes, there is, from the marketing and from the press side, that hunger to see what else do you do. And we try to understate rather than overstate. Because there's too much greenwashing around. There's too much just doing it because it's fashionable nowadays. So you use it in your marketing machine. And we are making real efforts not to do that. To really just show what is good practices that hopefully others can follow. We actually don't want to keep it for ourselves. We would love it to be followed. And you just have to balance it, that you don't overstate. But you are very honest about it, and also honest about what doesn't work yet, because there's many, many, many things in Six Senses that we would still love to do and have not achieved yet. It's just a continual process.
I have a question. Could social media be good support for this, to communicate the differences between marketing and sustainability, maybe, Ross? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put social media in a independent of the conversation, in a sense. I mean, the way that we're approaching it is actually that if a hotel is doing something great, then we take it more as an educational exercise. So we want to promote the hotel for doing something good and highlight that and teach consumers about that and let them understand that. If a hotel's not doing something good, then that's understandable. We want them to move forwards in that direction, but we will also are happy to find something in the neighborhood of the hotel, something that's local to them. For example, in Laax, Switzerland, we went and visited a local cheesemaker, okay, and that may seem like there's nothing to do with the hotel. The guy is a revolutionary cheesemaker, okay, he's doing some really great cheese and he's really making some change in his local community. Seems like a simple little story, but we think it's a powerful way of connecting the hotel with the neighborhood and helping the consumer understand more about these topics of local food and hyperlocality.
Indeed, we're just a platform to really explore a destination. Yeah. And the local cheesemaker or the lady cooking in the village is very much part of what guests want to feel when they go to a new place.
So, but you support destination marketing in this case, Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You are the angle.
But yeah, I think it is a very fine line between whether it's education, marketing, or greenwashing. You know, and it's like And everyone wants to, you know, bag people for greenwashing, basically. But I think it's much better if people are supportive of education, basically.
Okay. Yes, there's one more question. Herr Flaum. Your micro, take the micro, please, Andreas.
So congratulations for these great stories. But I didn't hear anything about service. And do you work on service design, which could be helpful for a very great stay at your properties?
Yeah, this being focused on sustainability, I kept all that other part out of what I said. But of course, service is key, and one of our values is emotional hospitality. So all our training is really focused on making everyone working from the heart, hopefully enjoying what they do and truly working from the heart. We call everybody working in the six senses hosts. So everyone is a host that truly hosts a guest, invites him to their home, so to say. And all training is focused really on how to emotionally connect, and also that there's a fine red line. You know, you shouldn't push it too far with the guest and be over familiar. Neither should you be too formal. So our training all goes in that direction. And service is obviously a huge part of what we do.
How many local people do you employ in service?
As many as possible. The dream would be to have locals in every destination. You know, I always give Dubai as an example. There is nothing worse than my first arrival into Dubai and trying to find a local to talk to. And everybody comes from another country. I've hardly met locals on my first visit. In Oman, we are a bit luckier. The government would like to see 70–80% of locals employed. It's not quite possible yet, but we are working on it, working with hotel schools, bringing in trainees and doing trainings in the resorts.
Great. So some more questions, please. Feel free. Use the opportunity. There's one more over there, the gentleman.
Hi, I've been working with hotels on sustainability many years, and I was wondering how your lower staff understands sustainability when they service the clients, the labor staff, how they understand and how they understand sustainability.
Well, I can give one more example of, we just started a big campaign of going to zero waste. That's a very high goal, but there is a movie called Trashed. I'm not sure if you've seen that. If you want to see it, I think you will be sick for a few weeks after seeing it. It's what plastic has done to the world, what it's done to the oceans, to the air pollution. And it's such a strong movie that we're actually showing it to all our hosts. And it's so impressive. It's moderated and it's explained in the local language. But it's so powerful that it has an impact. We then follow that through with the local schools, the villages, doing cleanups, and really banning plastic as much as possible from our resorts. That's one example. So you can have a very graphic way of demonstrating such initiatives, and it's a matter of showing it visually.
Would you say, a question that I get asked a lot that I'd be interested in your opinion on is that people always say, but does this stuff take a lot more of your staff's time? Like, is this, you know, they go, oh, we need to get into sustainability, but I mean, I don't have the staff for it. We're already really busy. What do we do? Like, what's your point of view on, are you spending a lot of time and money training your staff? Or?
No, it's part of the induction. It's part of the ongoing training, but I think, funny enough, sustainability is always seen as this big, strange animal, but it's just a matter of applying some common sense and doing as many initiatives as you can in a very natural way, and going forward as much as you can.
Yeah.
But it takes time, definitely. It takes
always,
time.
yeah, when you first talk to an owner or to somebody about a sustainable approach, they say, but that's all difficult. It's actually not. It's just some practices, and you apply them.
Yeah, it just becomes integrated into the way the people do their job normally. It's like the way you're talking about
It's just a philosophy. It's a philosophy of doing business.
So never urge people to do something they don't like.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
also investors. It's
Well,
true for investors.
there is some pushing going on,
Yeah,
not on the guests, but on the company front, yes, there is.
Okay. One more question, ladies and gentlemen? Sure? They won't come back next year, so take your chance. No?
I wonder about cultural leakage and how you deal. I know the best thing about the Sixth Senses is there's just simply aren't a lot of people coming to your resorts. You don't have the rooms. You're charging a premium. But I do wonder, I love the idea of people going into the villages and being able to meet these people's families and see how they live. But I also think the flip side is cultural leakage, of leaking Western culture into these amazing societies, and how you manage that. Is that a consideration?
One of the examples would again be Oman, where the local village is very traditional, and we make it very clear to the guests that they should dress appropriately when they leave the resort and go across to the village. And what I said before, it's really important that it doesn't become Disneylandish or like a zoo. You go and see how the locals live. It has to be done in a very sensitive way that is not disturbing, with the buy-in of the locals and their willingness to participate. It's easier for us because indeed, yes, we have 60, 80 villas, we have butlers that take care of everyone, so they can explain that to the guests. It's harder when you have a larger resort, I guess.
Okay. We are perfect in timing. I will say it was great to get an idea of your ideas. I would like to thank you very much for coming to Berlin, especially for you, Bernhard, as you travel a lot. And I appreciate
he comes from further, Australia.
Yeah, but he lives now in Berlin. He's one of these young local cosmopolitans. Great. Thank you very much, honestly, to both of you. Good luck with your ideas, with your hotels, and with your concept. Thank you.
Thank you.